Okay. And all right. It's been a couple months, but it is finally time for me to start going back over the tier list, updating it. As always, at the start of the year, I'm gonna like redo the tier list. Throughout the year, it's mostly servants moving up throughout the year based on buffs, but come the next year, everyone's taken down, and I reevaluate where people are based on new placements and like different units out for setups. Occasionally, I will bump units down, and I will give my justification on that. That's why there will be should be timestamps on this. If there's not, I'll try to add it at a later time. But yeah. So let me just these are all the servants, but I just want to bring up the rules one more time because it has been a minute. So all units are in comparison to each other on the list for their intended roles. MP1 for gotcha, MP5 if welfare free to play. C's at level 100, max out skills, max mana loading a pen. Like even for MP1, like permanence, as unlikely as it is, you'd have a maxed out mana loading. I still assume it just so it's like nice and clean for the looping calcs. Like on here, it just makes things a whole lot easier for me than trying to like, oh, MP1 permanent. No one's gonna ever have a pen. There's no point in ever calculating it. No, 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 no. But certain servants, I will add that certain servants that have been permanent in the game for a very long time, you are likely to have more than one copy, so that might affect placements. And if you want to hear like specifically why a unit is placed where it is, you got to go back and watch the original placement of that servant. Uh, where I'll have like my mindset at the current time. Don't worry about this stuff. I never did the looping tier list, and I probably won't. Not this year, at least. So EX, what they do extremely well, or or they're the only one that can do it, but not too niche, or they do something better than a higher rarity servant in A tier. A, very good servant, but servants can do it better. B, replaceable servants fills a certain niche that is very populated. C, usable servants, not the best, not the worst, and usually needs a buff at least. D, it's an uphill battle using the servant. If you're using them in their intended role, they probably are not doing too good. Extremely niche, they do one thing extremely well, uh, something that no other servant can do. Uh, you would not use them outside of this task. Phantom of the Opera is the example. You use him to debuff the living shit out of units for several turns, not just like one. You debuff them for 6 turns at a very high percentage. That's why I would put him in an extremely niche and not any other category. Because what he does better than anyone else can possibly do. And then there's don't use at all. Don't ever touch the servant. If you're seriously trying to use this servant, you're fucking up. And Saber Jills is the example for that. Right. So let us get started with the Sabers. Now that all that's out of the way. So we got 3 entries. 2 of these are rank ups that came in anniversary, and then Medusa came out. We are gonna do in order of release. So first, Saber Medusa. This servant might result in other servants being placed down because they're just that good. Saber Medusa has good base attack, good HP, ridiculously high MP gain for her for being a quick servant, above average hit counts, great skills for survivability and like offensive power. She has a whole bunch of different niches. Some of it she can't exactly take advantage of herself, but it's just like it's nice to have. Petrify, uh, triple quick, some curse shenanigans, 50% battery on a single target servant, by the way, that has a 50% battery. None of her competition comes anywhere close to that. Astolfo maybe, but definitely not Okita. She does not have that kind of staying power. and super high like survivability, like solo potential for a unit, as shown with like Plushie's video. She has riding as a passive when she has 3 quick cards and a quick MP. So this is one of the best passives for her. She just gets free damage and refund. Yeah, and her MP has a chance to petrify too. So bypass stun resistance, ups charisma on MP, super effective damage, quick up, and then just like better shit. As a sub DPS, awesome. As a main DPS, awesome. As a solo, awesome. Yeah, like her main competition is Astolfo and Okita. She's significantly better than both of them. It's not even fair, and I would honestly like think about knocking one of these two down. But as you can see from down here, uh uh, like I don't want to put I do think they're still better than some of the other servants here. Like I would not knock down Ogita and say she's on the same tier as Suna or Siegfried. So these two aren't changing. But when I go and redo the list next year, they probably will. All right. They were Medusa placed. So, first one I'm happy to talk about is Salter. So, we're not going to go through all of the stuff, but we are looking at this buff. Instead of being a 1-turn mana burst, it turns into a 3 times 3 turns mana burst, and she gets battery on refund for her buster cards, which includes her MP. She also got Invul Pierce for 3 turns. She's able to Black Rail now. So that alone, where are you, Salter? Yeah, no, she literally went from C tier for me to EX. Like you can't go from barely functioning in Buster farming or like needing double Oberon or needing to start from 60 to literally Black Rail farming and not be going into EX. Uh and yeah, like we can see like all 3 of these servants, Mordred, Artoria, Salter, they're all interchangeable. They all have a comp where they are the best out of the 3. All of them. Well, not Mordred. Mordred isn't the best, but she hmm, I would probably I'm probably going to move Mordred down because she does yeah, no. Okay. So Salter goes up and Mordred goes down by only 1. Like get and this is because it's an ease of use thing. Yeah. Like maybe Mordred should have been there from the get-go, but her like being able to use Black Row before Salter came out. I think I was justified in my placement then, but now she's probably here with Altera. Like they really realistically they shouldn't be that far apart, but yeah. Salter's buff is just disgusting, and then Chloe comes out and yeah, it might be possible to go like higher overcharge on Salter. You don't need it, but it like you could get even more refund on it because of how Summer Chloe works with it. If you really wanted to. I'm not saying to, but you could. Just for shits and giggles. All right. And the last of the Sabers is Gwen. Gwen is over here in D tier. Even with Ellie having her MP buff, I'm still keeping her in D tier because just having a hard hitting NP does not account for only having 2 skills. Especially when Her dead skill makes it so you're not popping her MP as much. Sorry, not sorry. Ellie and barely any clothes is staying in D tier. And unlike other servants, it's definitely not related to her cup size. Alright, so Gwen. He got technically 2 buffs. So he got a summer costume, which means he works in Miss Crane setups as a costume owning servant. You're gonna be able to drop stars with it. I'm not saying that's very important or impactful. I'm just saying that is something that did happen to him. He does have a costume now. Or no, he already had a costume. Actually, I take it back. He didn't. There's no difference. He always was able to do it. But now he finally has his costume. So for all the Gwen enjoyers, you have it. So his MP buff, he got crit damage while on a sunlight battlefield for 3 turns. He got star weight while on a sunlight battlefield for 3 turns. This is really nice. Until you remember how this shit works. He only gives himself sunlight battlefield for 1 turn to force it. So you have to be MPing the turn you pop this, or you have to be on sunlight battlefield in the first place. So I'm always a proponent that if your kid is so heavily tied to field mitigation, you should have good ease of use for it. This 1 turn buff, if you do not pop your MP, you're all you got was extra damage. That's it. However, the utility is 100% there. He needed this. He needed the star weight. He needed the crit damage. He didn't have it he didn't have it before. He was basically a raw berserker as a saber. He had the buster up. He had the attack up. He definitely had that attack up. He had the stars, even though this gust is shit. The overcharge still doesn't do shit. It's whatever. Honey Lake if you really want to. Oh yeah, and the skill seal, but that's didn't change. So, my opinions on Gawain. He is significantly better. It is enough to go up, but not by that much. He's not touching Arthur. He's definitely not in the same category as Arthur. Nowhere close. I think he deserves to be in here, but he can't go up higher. I don't like how if the sunlight lasted for 3 turns on his second skill, I wouldn't have any issues. I think he would be sitting pretty good, but right now, mm-mm, mm-mm. This is as far as I'm going. All right, so Sabers is done. Locking it. October Saber. Date. No, September. Because it goes by the end of it. No, just rename it as summer. Rename it as summer. All right. So next up, we have the archers. And clear this. So once again, we are going in order of the buff release. We're still on Summer's Annie. And first one is William Tell. So this is what his buff is. It was on his arts buff, which is already really good for considering his rarity. 3 times 3 turns of 30% arts up with a debuff immunity. Like I honestly was surprised they even buffed this because this was a pretty good skill on its own. They reduced the cooldown on it. That's the it's not the biggest part, but it is like pretty massive for his uptime. That goes from 50% up to 60% uptime on his skill. Like any kind of cooldown reduction, just like really, he's gonna start double stacking. So the most impactful buff for this is enabling his MP, enabling this. If people have dodge, he makes it so even if you shoot through the dodge and get rid of it, he's still gonna be doing the extra damage. Then he puts a debuff on them where if they do a dodge anytime during like within 5 turns, it will delay activate this. So all of his buff was consistency for his damage, consistent like for his card damage, consistency for his MP damage. He doesn't have the MP buff. I kind like single target archers need it, but this was this like him making his damage a lot more consistent. 35k. And then if you hit someone with while they're marked, 71. He is definitely comparable to like, and if you are hitting someone with dodge, he is comparable to the top tier of the single targets at MP5 as a 3-star at level 70. But remember, he's always going to have 1-star stats. Right. Okay. So, okay. So I actually did forget that the low stars are not on the tier list. Here we go. I haven't looked on this in a minute. There we go. All right. So where did I put Tell? B tier, easily A. A tier, A tier, 100% A tier. I don't want to say EX, but 100% A tier. Because you need the enemy to have dodge. You need them to have dodge. That is the issue. Yeah, because it's consistency. And his uptime on damage is just ridiculously higher. He's not gonna burn through. Because before, if you shot through dodge, the dodge would go away, so he wouldn't have the damage. Now he could have that damage for well over 3 turns. So like it's and like the only servants that really spam dodge like that are Ku, and you're not exactly bringing William Tell to fight Ku. That sounds like a very bad time. Star, dude. Okay. Well, no, I gotta keep this up. I gotta keep this up. Because Jaguar Warrior is on here too. Right. Okay. So next up, Squirtoria. It's not on in order on the list. I just made it to help me find this stuff easier. All right. Squirtoria. She got this buffed. She got a battery and she got evasion on an already good skill. Uh, yeah. I mean, she's already EX. What am I supposed to do? I'm not making EX plus for her. That's not happening. So yeah, she's just staying here. No, she's not getting dodged. Right. And then last one, Barghest. Barghest. So low-ish base attack for a 4-star. Okay HP. She's looking close to like lower tier 5-star, which isn't a bad thing. Her HP is fine, but it's not like super high. Maybe like if she was in like 13.2, like another 400, I would definitely say that's like highest end for or higher, like some of the more highest end for like 4 stars, because like most units aren't touching Jiniko's HP. Jiniko's HP is just so fucking chunky that I don't think any servant they're gonna release is gonna come close for a long time. Uh, MP charge on face guards not that good. Uh, just her AOE mode in general at MP1 isn't that good, but her single target form is considerably better. Hit counts are good. She encourages using lower rarity servants for this buff. So if you don't have the best, if your account is like newer and you don't really have your own Castoria and you're using like Paracelsus, Asclepius, Shufu, like any unit like that, you get extra stuff. You'll be able to like make up for the fact you don't have Castoria for a good while, right? Yeah, because like Shufu doesn't provide attack buffs. If you do this, it's very similar to if you like your MP gain the attack buff. It's very similar to if Castoria was on the field, but you're lacking the higher tier arts buff, uh, more battery, and just the chance of MPing to get more attack. Uh, Party skill cooldown reduction, good for the supports, especially if you run her with Tomomo. You're really gonna have lower skill cooldowns than you would think. Like, oh my god, like by reducing Tomomo's MP cooldown, you're just upping Bargis's damage even more, and like getting her to spam this even more because the more Tomomo's pop in, the more Vargas gets to pop this. So just more damage, better rotations. It's like Castoria too, because like outside of using like a low star, it'd be probably Tomomo Castoria. So Castoria's cooldowns all go down from a skill, and then Tomomo, like you just have very high uptime. Oh, and also Bargus using her with Sith. Like the party skill cooldown for the entire party is very, very strong, especially in arts or just stall in general. And then she's able to switch from AoE to single target. This is something we don't see in the game besides Melisyn, and even then, this is the reverse for Melisyn. For 90 plus that have 311 and they're all sabers, yeah, instead of running multi-core, you can just solo with Bargus and just up her damage even more. And she gives herself super large. Uh, it's hard to see this anything other than like a demerit because this does make her susceptible for like certain bosses. Like if you bring her to fight Arthur, he's gonna do more damage because Arthur has mod against super large. So if he has that, Vargas will take more damage, even though she has class advantage. It really depends on if you can make use of this and do something. I think it is cool. Like if you see the MP animation, it makes sense why she gets it. She does go super large, like skyscraper level. But there isn't really like servants that buff super large or anything, so numbers are nice though on everything. Good passives, like immunity to burn on a burning battlefield. That's hilarious. This pen doesn't matter because you're not going to bring in fight rulers, but it's because of the grudge against Melisyn. And the damage scaling for this MP is actually better on single target than it is AoE. Like she isn't like an AoE that has like gimped single target damage. She's a single target that has gimped AoE damage, if anything. Yeah. So on single target, she is like matching Squirtoria at level 80. And if you have a low star, she goes to almost the top of the board. Like not many single targets actually have niches that are at the top. It's usually you got to go down lower. But again, this is a setup thing. They're not always going to be able to take advantage of everything. There's exceptions to everything. She's not going in EX, but I think A is very fair. I do like. I would bring her out more than Emiya, 100%. Uh, and she's arts. It helps a lot that she's arts. She's not rehunting super well. She is gonna be reliant on supports and face cards more than, I mean, supports and face card regen after the fact than just being like able to loop all the way back. Like especially in AoE, she's going to need help to get back up. Yeah. So with that, we are locking archers. Oh, excuse me. Yep. Let's close these out. Up next is the Lancers. So delete these two. Make room. We got a bunch more on Lancers, but yeah, the low tier isn't gonna be done till Hans. Yeah, we got a lot more low tiers here than we're not gonna be. I can't close this tab out until Hans is done. So Lancers, but we're still starting here on low cost because we have Taiga getting the buff. So what Taiga got was making this skill not terrible. The cooldown got reduced by 3, which is a lot. Taking a 10 turn cooldown to a 7 makes it work way better in the modern system. If you have Atlas, you can fully double stack this for Jaguar Warrior doing like good, or not good, decent crit damage. Decent single target crit turns. She also forces Forest, which completely enables this third skill. You can now get all of these benefits consistently. She needed this buff. And then she also drops 30 stars for herself. So she gets to use this. She gets a crit turn. Her MP isn't great. Like, this overcharge effect is weak as shit. But I mean, like, this is the welfare that you get, or not welfare. This is a 3-star that you get from the story. Taiga is like, she is a massive chaos in Fate Stay Night that, like, when she's on screen, she like steals the show. Like, people like Taiga for a good reason. And she really did need this buff a while ago. I would definitely not put her on EX. That's not happening. And I wouldn't put her on A because there is still some awkwardness in her kit. But she is definitely solid. She is solid now. For a single target Lancer, she's definitely. Actually, hold up. Wait, is my rules for MP1 would, okay, so let me clarify. MP1 would be here, but MP5 would be here. Yeah, that's how I want to put it. Like, because assuming you have an MP5 Taiga is not, that's not something I want to start doing. that isn't something I want to start doing. Yeah, who are the other, like the other permanents are like one of them is here. Um, the other, some of the others are supports. No, wait, he is limited, and I'm counting him probably as MP5. So Taiga gets to go here. If I'm counting Izo's kit does work like really well. Like you don't need him MP5, but more likely than not, I'm counting on as MP5. So I'll count Taiga as MP5 too. And I just want to see the damage on Lancers just to double check that. Single target, Taiga, 50,000 and MP5. Yeah. 50,000 for having like really good crit synergy. Like Taiga as a crit Lancer probably is beating out all these other options if you have her MP5. But again, this is only MP damage, not crit damage. You can always level Taiga and she'll just do more crit damage. Yeah, like I do think that if you invest in Taiga, like if you do have a couple copies, you're gonna be feeling pretty good about yourself. He's gonna be doing decent damage. That like this school skill cooldown reduction just helped her so much. This was such a good. Her and Salter, these them getting these buffs on the same day is awesome. It's just awesome. All right, Jaguar Warrior done. Bradamante. Also, all these Lancers came from Anniversary. Just side note. Okay, so Bradamante. Let's just open all of them up now. Kyo and Art. All right, Bradamante. What was her buff? Her battery is fixed at 30. Power mod against Earth attribute and MP gen 30%. Literally what she needed to be able to farm. Literally what she needed to help her in boss fights. There is literally there is nothing wrong with this buff. It fixed the problem. Like they couldn't decide whether she was supposed to be used solely in boss fights, supposed to be farming. It was unclear. She had to use K scope, or yeah, it just wasn't the best before. He hits harder than Britomart, but Britomart is just going to have better refund, period. It would be you like they are interchangeable though. They truly are interchangeable. So wherever I placed Britomart, I'm gonna place that's where uh Bradamante is going. So Bradamante surprisingly only goes up one tier for me. I am surprised on that. Oh, I would argue she probably should have been lower, but oh well. And just for damage comparison, or not a comparison, but just to see where she is right now. 21,000 and Brittle Mart's 19,000. And then with mod, her damage doesn't go up a full MP level, but it's not that bad. Yeah, like she can do this farming, she can do black rail farming. Like there's nothing wrong with her. She fits in the meta now, and that was the most important part. She didn't fit in before. So yeah, I'm fine with Bradamante just being next to Brit. I prefer Brit, but there's nothing wrong with her anymore. Next up, Kyo Lancer. And it is this buff. So what it was before was reduced crit attack chance for 3 turns. And her upstairs was fine. I never had a problem with this. I actually liked it because it was similar to Shisho. She puts burn on people. She charges her own battery by 20%. And she puts spread of fire while she is attacking. So by face guarding, you up the burn. Like you can really ramp up this burn amp, depending on how much you're face guarding. The burn is only 1,000 base, and you do want burns to like have a big base. The whole issue I have with this is it's more you're supposed to be using her with someone that already burns very, very hard. That's how like to increase that one's because Kyo's burn isn't that high. And like there's an issue with you having to like face guard with Kyo to start spread of flame. If she got an MP buff where her base burn damage went up to 2,000, I think that will do a lot for her in making this buff like far more impactful because then they're gonna that 2,000 is gonna really start ramping up into like high like a burn worthy of like that kind of amp, and then you can keep laying this shit on. She's at C. I'm not changing her. I think she is fine where she is, and I don't think she is in this category. I don't think she's on the other level. I just don't. It's a good buff, but that has to be the start. She needs more than that. And last but not least, Karna. His buff lets him Buster Farm. His star gen goes up crazy. His crit damage gets a lot better. Or not a lot better. Like the star gen, it was already 3 turns 50%. Now it's 100%. His crit damage was at 40%. Now it's at 50. And he drops 40 fucking stars along with having a 30% battery now. He works in buster farming, whether the skill is leveled or not. Whether you can like he's not a buster farmer where you want to be like fully stacking because this is not a stackable buff for Vitch. If he gets this upgraded like Arjuna 2 or 3 times or 3 turns across the board, then you will want to level the skill. But right now, like double Vitch maxed out, and you can have this at level 1 and you could still do buster farming. Now, if you have it maxed out, you will be able to do a full buster farming setup, but because he cannot double stack buffs, uh his turn 3 damage isn't that big. But like it's better than Artoria. It's better than Lartoria, which is wow. That like it is kind of crazy though that like Artoria needs Black Rail in order to like beat out Karna. Otherwise, Karna is beating her, and then it mostly has to do with the buffed MP. It's mostly buffed MP. Karna also has anti divine, which is a very common thing, especially for archers. And then Buster Res down. I like the second he gets his third skill upgraded, I can firmly put him in EX for being probably the easiest crit servant, not even buster crit. I'm just saying crit servant to use because he has so much in his kit to be able to crit. Crit crit buff, Sargen at the buff you would need to really show like impactful gains, and then dropping more stars than any servant knows what to do with unless their name is Cuckoo. So I am happy with locking this one in. All right. Next up, we have Rider Servants. Are we doing on time? No fucking idea. This shit, and I can't pause it. So this is an unknown amount of time. I'm just gonna keep going until I'm done. So we got two: Suzuka and Mandricardo. So Suzuka, good base attack for a 4-star. Okay HP for a 4-star. This isn't that high. Star weight, star gen, rider numbers, MP charge 0.55%. This is in line with other quick riders that have 5 hits on their MP. Double checking if 5 hits, like Achilles. But what she has is raw damage. She brings so much fucking damage. Like, she gets more attack when she crits. She's a quick servant. She makes her own stars. She has 50% crit in her kit. Quick up, attack, MP damage if they're a summer mode servant. That also includes Achilles when he has his costume, I believe. Yes, only when they got the costume on. Unlike because Miss Crane is costume owning, this is summer mode. You have to have the costume on for you to get the benefit. But again, Achilles can get the benefit of this skill. She does actually support Achilles, funny enough. Targetable MP generate for 3 turns, reduces their skill cooldown and her own gauge. So technically, she does have application in multi-core. I would still be popping this on herself though, kind of just like Summer Ibuki. And yeah, she has the golden trifecta for quick farming. Quick up, although it's not the 30, she makes up for it with getting even more attack and MP damage. Yeah, card buff, battery at 30%, MP gain. Quick up 10%. Like again, I'm happy that I'm assuming MP1, but you have mana loading because she needs it. Just like Achilles needs it, she needs it, and unfortunately, because she's not Achilles, you really got to get the bond points up. Luckily, not as high as a permanent, but still, you have to use her in scuff farming for far too long at MP1 that I'm comfortable with. But she's still good. MP ignores invul, power mod against lawful alignment, super effective damage against earth attribute. It's just damage on top of damage on top of damage. Like Achilles suppresses fire, like cool, but he has problems refunding already. He's needed his 3rd skill buff for a very long time. That thing has needed to be buffed and made it 3 turns to let him farm. Currently, his farming is a lot more scuffed than it should be, and that's including he loops around casters and still has problems looping 100%. Overkill issue was not solved with just his MP buff. Suzuka, when she gets ramped up, is hitting single target damage. When she gets everything aligned, which isn't that hard. It isn't that hard to get at least the attack buff. If you manage to hit lawful earth attribute, cool. Earth attribute is very common. Lawful is either lawful or chaotic. That window is pretty big. So if she's not, even if she doesn't hit her full effectiveness, most of the time she is hitting in Achilles ballpark. If Achilles did not get his MP buff, he would definitely be a lot weaker than Suzuka. He doesn't have a niche, and he relies on ramp up crit damage to his MP. And the thing is, You need to get hit back to his MP to use his MP, right? Common sense. He has problems getting back to his MP. Suzuka kind of doesn't have these problems. And also, and while Suzuka doesn't have uh double buster, double quick to work with Ruler Scotty, um same as Achilles, but like her hit counts are just better, just more on the arts. So her face card refund is better, like 2%, 0.02%. You really think that's gonna matter when she has her MP game for 3 turns and Achilles is one? Like Achilles needs his third skill buff so bad. Achilles is at B tier, just because at A. I feel so confident saying that. Tygon is better for multi-core. Suzuka can do multi-core too. I feel comfortable putting her above Achilles. If you have MP2, you're cooking. You will never need to use Achilles. The crit damage is nice, but when him and Jason got their buffs together, Jason's was leagues better for him. Achilles was nice, but it needed to come out with another buff. His third skill needed to be buffed too. All right. Uh, I'm locking this because the next one is a 3-star. Oh, I'm gonna have to bring up Mandracardo again. Yep. All right. Servant inspect this rider. All right, Mandracardo. I'm not gonna lie. I probably placed him a little higher on this, and it was solely based on the fact that he was arts over Ushi. But to be fair, you probably could use them both interchangeably, and you'd get the same results. Magikardo being arts, he was just easier to use, but he didn't really have a second skill, and he pretty much killed himself. This buff, all it did would made it so if you used his MP, like if you got a hit with him, he wouldn't immediately die. That that was the thing with this skill before. He would die immediately after he got the one hit off. Now he's able to do a full turn and really get the benefit of this 50% attack buff and 100% crit damage. You can do a full Brave Chain turn, and then he's gonna pop out and swap out for someone else afterwards. So now I do believe he deserves this A rank placing. I think because he kills himself, like I can't put him in EX, but now he deserves this A spot. He deserves to stay here now. And yeah, Riders is done. We got that one pretty done. We got that done pretty quick. We're still going in order of this, but we are gonna close out the low scores now. Hans. His buff was the crit damage. Before it was at 40%, now it's at 50, 10% more. He can so his buff, he can only go up. If you are good, Star Gen. MP Gen if you're balanced, MP damage with evil alignment. And if you don't have any of these, you just get rock crit damage. Or extra crit damage. This is mostly like summer allies. But say you had uh Gilgamesh. Say you had Gilgamesh. He is chaotic good. If you have Jox on the field that gives him the evil alignment, he will get both of these buffs. This skill can only make a servant better, but because there's no deterministic factor to it, can't really move him up anywhere further than where he is right now. I think this buff is great. I just think there's a little more to he needs like one more buff, make this like at least 80 or 100, make it so like he's able to MP off the rip. Because I like he does have a really good MP and it just makes everything feel better. But he's got to be able to pop it immediately. I don't like him missing out on such a small 5%, 5% of his bat, like he's 5% off from being able to start from zero. And I think that just like messes him up for it. So he's staying at A. All he needs is that buff, and then I will move him up to EX easily. So with this, now we're locking it. For the rest of the casters, I believe next up was Anastasia getting a buff first. Yeah, Anastasia first. This was her first buff ever, and she's been in the game for a while. The buff was was an AoE stun instead of a targeted stun, and Arts Res down for all enemies for 3 turns. Massive spike for damage, especially in a challenge quest. You see stunning enemies, you shouldn't be assuming farming. Although she can do farming, it's not her strength. But let's look at the numbers. She went up like a good 200,000. Probably comparing her just to double cast Storia instead of double cast Storia Oberon. She is did pass up Scheherazade. But again, a buff like this, it's awkward because you're forced to use her 50% battery on turn 3 now. So you might have to bring in over like the turn your setup is going to be different depending on your team. It's going to get awkward. Yeah, like you have to pop 2004 on turn 1 like the MP game. You have to. You're not going to be able to get her damage is going to go down. Like here's the the numbers are right here. She loses 14,000 damage if you do not pop her battery on turn 3. So farming usage it went up, but not as much as you'd think in practicality. Unless you are like high investment, you're only using the best, like you're not even worried about refund that much. It's fine, but if you're still leveling and stuff, this buff isn't going to help you as much as you'd think. They also reduced the skill cooldown, so good buff. She can go to A tier, but because I don't think she's in the same category as Helena, but Helena's here for a different reason. She probably should go up. You know, oh no, I had her different tier of Gil because she's like good for everyone, but not best for anything. Yeah, but Anastasia, it is fair to put her in the same category as Scheherazade. It is fair. It's more than fair. And Murasaki, yeah, no, all of these are interchangeable now, depending on each situations. but she's probably the best farmer. This is the probably best in between, and this one's the best boss killer if you need it. Next one, Morgan or Ask the Savior. This servant enables multi-core farming like no fucking other. High base attack, okay HP, poofy hair. I love this ascension. And then it becomes more Morgan. On it, like honestly, I know this is like the stereotypical witch, but it just fits her so nice. And like it's just Gap Moe. It is pure Gap Moe that we know this is like Morgan when she was younger and possibly what she looked like. Um what like even proper human history. This is probably what Morgan might have looked like before uh before her fairy aspect like really took over. Like this might be what Vivian looked like. Uh or like this is the Vivian aspect that was like shown in Arthurian myth, and then Morgan looks as differently as she does. We don't know this obviously, but it's cool to think about for that stuff. Her alignment changes based on her ascension. She's always staying lawful, good, balanced summer. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Hit counts above average, gains good for the hit counts, especially because she's a buster servant. Battery per turn, stars per turn, 50% battery, MP damage on a 7-turn cooldown is good. 20% attack base, and depending on any HP concern changes, you get more attack. Depending on the setup, you can exploit the shit out of this using like Chang Gong and get a 70% charisma for your party. Along with if party's HP is 100%, then she gets stars. So if she's only giving out a 20% attack buff, such as farming, that doesn't involve Vitch reducing people's HP, you'll get 10 stars per turn. Oh, and this is on a low 5-turn cooldown. So if you are buster farming with her, but also using Cheng Gong to like force a guts proc, yeah, you can double stack this. You can double stack 140 for 140% attack. Is it a lot of setup? Yeah, but that's cool. That is cool numbers. Third skill. So if you don't know how this works, it's basically the skill comes in as if you already popped it. So any kind of skill cooldown reduction like Vitch will get this down. But you don't want to use Vitch to force this cooldown reduction. But when you're actually able to pop this skill, it is an AoE 50% battery. Let me let me say it again. AoE 50% battery. 30% MP damage from the entire party and a guts. So that's where the Cheng Gong stuff comes in. Uh yeah. It is. And again, because of how the skills this skill work, if you do skill cooldown reduction, when you do Cheng Gong, it will happen immediately. Like these buffs are already there. So it's not that you have to be low HP, pop this to get all these buffs. It's you already have them, but as your HP gets lower, that's when they'll activate. So if you want to do some really funky setups where you have like double Vitch and then Cheng Gong comes in, uh nukes or uses Summer Morgan, forces her guts proc, you're gonna be looking at some cool damage that doesn't involve Oberon. So this part is probably the jankiest stuff in her kit. It's why some people aren't a fan of her. Uh gives an A like she gives an AoE 50% battery. You cannot ask for much more in multi-core. You can't. That saves and it's regardless of card type too. It's awesome that she's a Buster servant that's doing this because she's not a normal support. Like normally other supports would be on the field with her. Like another support would be in that third slot. You'll have a single target. You'll have Morgan, and you'll have like a support that can also rotate out. Summer Chloe, Castoria, Oberon, whoever. She gives enough MP damage that like Oberon is still good for her, as much as Morgan fucking hates Oberon for a good fucking reason. Past skills, arts up good, debuff success rate good, debuff resistance good, and Fey Eyes for crit attack chance resistance. And since she's a caster, she's gonna be fighting assassins a lot of time who normally crit. They'll usually be critting most of the time. So she's already tanky against them. Now she's even more tanky. Who would have thought? Pen skills, damage bonus against berserkers, cool, because she is supposed to be multi-core. To clear away, they might put a berserker up along with the assassins if you're using her optimally, like in the summer 3 or summer 8 90 plus plus. It was 3 assassins. Uh, I think it was assassin dragon and then MHX. So her being able to just do more damage against berserkers is good. Mana loading is probably what you're gonna go for though, just to make it even better and give her more options. But it is up to you. I will say though, if you get mana loading combined with this first skill, you're MPing with her turn 1, and you want to MP with her at probably as soon as possible, and with overcharge if possible. So MP AOE 5 hit, invulge per herself for 1 attack 1 turn, very similar to Berserker Castoria. It makes sense why Berserker, like, those two are literally swapped around their like classes. One was a berserker normally, the other is a caster. Now it's the other way around when they pop swimsuits on. Damage to all enemy, super effective damage against evil alignment, which scales with MP level. For our concern, doesn't really matter, but the higher copies you have, the better her damage scaling is. 30% buster up every time she MPs, and she reduces her own skill cooldown. Her third skill cooldown, sorry. Very specifically, her third skill cooldown. So any kind of overcharge you give her is going to reduce this even further. For any event that has overcharge on the CE, you're probably going to want to give Morgan that because it will let her pop the 50 sooner. But in most multi-core, if she's able to get the overcharge, like say running her with Berserker Castoria, you'll have this available for after that single target pops the battery. I wouldn't say to use this battery to get the single target to their MP the first time. It's more after they MP, you're giving them a battery on top, and they just have to get 50%, probably from another support. That is the real strength of it. MP damage, depending on HP. So conditional. This isn't something that's gonna come up often. If this becomes a passive she just has, awesome. But you're probably not picking this specifically. It just works with her kit. I like I can't put her anywhere but EX. There's literally no one that does something this good. Like I know people would be like, catching shit, she probably should be here. That's contestable because you can do regular buster farming. You can use Black Rail. Her damage isn't even bad. It's not as high as an MP5 Q-caster, but like how many people actually have MP5 Q-casters that are like as good as like my JP, mine on my main account or on my free to play account, the MP5s that are like level 90s. They would shit on Tonal Echo's damage, but you would not be bringing Ku to a boss fight. What this really, and I think that was for the best. I don't think power creeping Ku caster's damage is healthy for the game. If you have him MP5 and are able to run the normal setup, he really shouldn't have competition in terms of farming. He should be like one of the best. And even a 5-star shouldn't go past that point just because of how his kit works and like the raw stats they would have to out damage him. The raw stats you need to have to be able to out damage him. This is the bar you have to set to like power creep Kucaster. It is not healthy for the game to everyone to be brought up to Cuckoo's level like that. Because then Kucaster is probably getting a buff too. And he does not need the buff. Call me a simp because I like Morgan. I don't care. I think she deserves this placement. All right. So the last one, Iris Vale. She is one of the few servants I actually put in don't use at all because before it was atrocious. Her gains were horrendous. Like she couldn't. This was the worst skill I probably ever saw in the game because of how bad the uptime of it was and how much the effect actually mattered. You had to set up so much for this. First off, the buff name is awesome, Cup of Heaven. It goes down, but then you have to realize what it actually means. And it probably is a cup size. I wouldn't be surprised she actually said that casually, and like Shiro was just around there and happened to hear it, and he's just doing a spit shake and choking or some shit. I don't know. I haven't watched Prisma Ilya. I wouldn't know. All I know is I've seen the clips of her having like baby pictures of Shiro that she uses to like blackmail Luvia and Rin. And she's just smiling while they fight for it. And like, my baby's gonna get grandkids from these two. Like Iris Veal as a character is fucking hilarious. Her buff, the healing power, not only did they double its effect, but they tripled the duration. They gave her a 50% battery to help with her atrocious gains, and they gave her MP damage for the party. Not much else changed, but now her competition is Lily. Her competition is Lily. So I'm at least gonna put her at extremely niche and be nice. Like you don't need Lily that often, but when you need her, she helps. Iris Beale, it's gut spamming for the party. Like her competition is Storylock servants, Asclepius and Lily. She doesn't really like we're not in the meta for it, which is why I don't want to like place her here. Like she's for certain CQs where you need the guts, you need a lot of healing like this. You probably is able to solo solely off her getting hit and like procking the guts. Just art spamming the entire time. Kind of doesn't matter how high your gains are that much if you are just getting 20% for free and then getting hit a lot. That will do a lot for your MP refund. But again, only if you're solo, only if she's fighting AoE bosses that hit a lot of times. If they are spamming skills, they kind of shit out of luck. But assassins more likely are attacking for multiple hits over just hitting ones, unless you're fighting like the 1 stars from year one. Okay. Uh, so I'm gonna lock that. Irisville, she's out of don't use it all. You can use her, but she's not the best. Four more, and then I get to enjoy the rest of my day. So we have 2 quick units that got buffed: Okita and Shisho. We're starting with Shisho first. Shisho is the first welfare summer servant to come out, and her buff gave her crit damage for 3 turns instead of one, and 50%. 50% power mod against divine enemies for 3 turns, so big for damage, and a 30% battery. Now, she is not on this list, I believe, for refund reasons. But the damage should be there. She should have the damage. It's literally the fact that she doesn't have a consistent quick buff. She would be relying on her supports and MP refund. Now, you could farm with her with Chloe, but at that point, I think it is becoming too big of an ask. Um, you do not like. She should be able to start from 50% though. Like Trace's, it should be a refund issue. So you could technically use Summer Chloe, but again, you're gonna be dealing with consistent issues trying to refund with her. She's gonna need another buff to up her MP gain or to like give her a permanent card buff before you're really trying to farm with her. And also like there is already a welfare AoE quick farming unit. Shisho can do the farming. It's not going to be pretty. Your refund isn't going to be good. The possibility is there, but you're going to have to brute force it. I'm on the wrong one. Also, I have Caution Koji like literally the next tier. I don't think these two are in the same tier at all. I don't. She probably would do better quick damage, but like oh yeah, actually now I actually have the numbers for it. And yeah, like even right now, like Kashin Koji's like numbers aren't put up, so I'm assuming her refund isn't as good as people would like. So yeah. Maybe I'll look at her a little more in the future. But Shisho isn't changing. But that wasn't the main unit that we're talking about. So Okita. Okita J Soji. Her kit is full of demerits. She is a gag servant that actually got implemented as a gag servant in the worst possible way. You read her skills and you're laughing at the skills for how bad they are and that they actually put them on a character. And then you realize, oh shit, I have to use this character with all these demerits. It's not that funny anymore. Like stun on the MP. Defense down that stacks up to 50%. That is treated as a buff. You cannot cleanse it. The buff, and it was a 50% card buff for 3 turns. So it wasn't a bad skill. Made a really strong skill for a farmer, and they put the worst kind of demerit on it. When like it wasn't even known, she wasn't even viewed as a farmer. She was seen more as a crit servant because of how long this lasted, and you're better off not popping the MP. They gave her the 30% battery and the 30% MP gain, which is the standard for any quick looper to be looping. Does mean you're gonna need the pen if you want to get her to loop. She is also not on this list, but her gains should be higher. It's just MP1 that becomes the issue. MP1 is the issue. But here's the thing, her refund was never affected by the stun. This always fucked you up for crit damage, and it was always a chance. In my reviews for her, I always hated the stun, and it really was the crit damage. She had stuff to do, like good carding, and it just didn't matter. You would get messed up because of it. It's not going to affect her actual farming, but it does affect cards after, so she's not supposed to be brought to challenge quests. Even though her overcharge is fucking amazing for challenge quests, it's more for setting up someone else to hit hard, not for her. As long as the stun part is there. So, do I think she deserves to go up a tier out of D away from Carmilla? Yes. But only to see. Assassins are, some of them are just sad. It is so sad. The compressed gap for assassins, I feel, is better than other servants. Yeah. Like the gap compression compared to like casters, it feels like people are, it's very clear what servants are good, what servants are good, what servants are bad, and the others are like kind of just squished together because the extremes are too much. But yeah, I'm good on this. We're gonna lock in assassins, and we have 3 classes left, and then we're good to go. All right, Zerx. End of the standard class. We have Ryko and Castoria. Ryko, her buster buff is 3 turns now, not 1 turn, 3 turns. So it makes sense why she would have a 30 and not a 50. Her evasion is still 1 turn. And she got the 30% battery. So she is able to do buster farming in the same situations as Arjuna Alter. She has a buffed MP and she ups her Sargen. She has stupid crit damage buffs. Like she had like, so she has like bitch style like crit buffs, but just before bitch was even a thing. So she doesn't even need her buster cards to hit hard. All her cards are gonna crit hard. She's gonna have the stars for all of them. And now she's function and she has the damage. Power mod against demonic, great in farming. Power mod against servants with sky or earth attribute. Earth is pretty big, and then sky is a lot of extra servants. Like this, she hits so many servants so hard. And she double stacks the power mod bonus, just like Juna. Oh my god. She covers man, earth, and sky attribute. All of them at all times. Her damage is just consistently good, and she is not reliant on debuffs like Juna. Juna, if you're fighting someone that is debuff immune, debuff resistant, you are fucked. His damage plummets very quickly because he's not getting Buster Res down and he's not getting his own power mod. He's reliant on both of those things. And if you look at calcs, if you look at all these calcs, Um, it always assumes he always gets it. It doesn't assume that you're fighting someone you can't bring him to. Because now any fight that's debuff immune Juna, you can just bring Raikou. And your setup isn't changing that much. You're just doing way more crits. Do I think she is on Juna's level? No. Unfortunately not. Just because like Raikou does still have her own problems. She does have her own problems, and Juna's damage can just he can just spike higher. If you're fighting like just man attribute, like his damage spike is he he just hits harder. Yeah, he has a higher ceiling. Raikou, her floor is ridiculously high. Like this is Juna's floor. This is Raikou's floor, but Juna's ceiling is a lot higher. She's just so consistent. Like she is the most consistent. You can bring them to any pretty much any node. Her damage is always going to be the same. Morgan, Juna, it depends on who you're fighting. Morgan, if you fight man attribute, you shouldn't bring anyone but her. Her damage is it's too stupid if you're bringing her to fight in a double Vich setup. Her you are going to make the enemy explode. So Raikou, I'm happy to put an A. These two just have bigger spikes, but Morgan has ease of use. They're all interchangeable though, pretty much. Just you bring one over the other for a specific reason, like you already know. Berserker, Castoria. She is an arts berserker crit servant with a 70% battery, crit damage, like anti-purge, super effective, and puts power mods, two of which, chaotic and divine, which are they're giant niches that have a lot of overlap. So she's usually getting a lot of the time she's either getting one or both against more than half of the servants. I would even go farther to say like closer to 60-70% of servants she's going to have a power mod against one of them. If you are fighting pretenders, this is going to be really good. You wouldn't bring her to fight foreigners, but pretenders, they're going to get clapped by her because more likely than not, they're chaotic or they have divinities, some of them both. Or eventually we might get both. And again, not specific to pretenders. I'm just saying pretenders because they also might get threat to humanity. Oberon. All right. I'm not going to go too deep in the kit. Just know like her kit is just. It is so good. I'm actually moving Kentucky down. And so the reason being for this, and like I said this in like another video, Castoria being arts makes Kentucky just look worse. For a note, like for a 3-1 or for multi-core, if you have more than one wave that has one enemy, Kentucky's gonna have a struggle getting his MP back without supports. You have to build for Kentucky doing all the damage, which not the worst thing, but for multi-core that does greatly hurt your AoE's damage. And if it's not a clean setup, you're gonna be struggling. Like if it's say it's 3-2-1, yeah, you're gonna have a lot of problems because now you're card reliant too. Uh, like again, every 90++ node has their own benefits, their own disadvantages, but we do have a 4-star that has a 50% battery. That is arts that has very similar power mods to Castoria in Kremhild. I can't sit here and say that Kentucky is going to be the be all end all for forever when he has a 50% battery and he has a 50% attack buff. and that's it. A buffed MP. Raw damage with that can't be double stacked and just is entirely selfish. His skills, he needs a really good skill buff to like help bring him in, and I can put him back in EX. But currently, like, yes, he is good. He's universal. I'm not denying that he's not good. Like, he is at the top of this leader. He does pierce defense, but in boss fights, you aren't in a challenge quest. You aren't going to bring him. They're not going to bring Kentoki because other servants could probably benefit from this, from Double Vitch Oberon, long lasting buffs that just stack well. And then Castoria comes in and just one, one, any of her power mods, and she quickly outpaces Kentoki. And if you combine any of them together, she starts running laps around double MHXA, who before was hitting harder. Castoria needs everything to align to outpunch MHXA, which is why she is staying here. Like, she's not getting touched because her damage is significantly higher. It's getting back up, but that also has to do with like quick and how that system works. So, like, in even outside Scotty, like if you can get her to her MP, she's still nuking a Saber. So yeah, that's my reasoning. I don't want to give her her own tier, especially because of Buki. Because if Castoria gets her own tier, it becomes too slippery. She belongs in EX. That's it. Simple as that. Like, Lancers and Melusin is the only one I'm willing to give her her own category because she is too stupid. Summer Berserker tier list update. Good. Next, we got two more on this, and then we're on the last set. But this has a lot. This is the most out of any of them. All right, so this one is going to be so fucking easy. Both of these are EX. I wouldn't click Chloe in a tier of her own, but I would put her in a very similar tier to Ruler Scotty because she enables farming for servants that could never do farming before. She enables servants that do not have batteries to have batteries and work with Oberon. The setups can be jank, but she doesn't enable servants that don't have batteries to actually farm. That is so valuable because it changes up when they have to do buffs and what kind of buffs. Because if there is a way to make a servant that doesn't have a battery, do the farming and all that shit, there's less pressure on the developers to make like buff that unit just so they actually fit in the meta when it might not be an opportune time. There's no reason they would be getting the buff. They would have to force them into a story rather than just coming natural. It really is just all right. So we're gonna go over this one first. I'm not just gonna place them and not talk about it, but both of them just go right into EX. So Chloe, single target, quick assassin, triple quick. She's not really a damage dealer, but if you want, you can like start kitting her out like a Tyra, and like she has a really cool synergy if you want her to be the DPS for certain things, for certain fights. So upstairs was good, MP charge good. This is the buff, or this is it, the manuscript. Anyone that does attack, anyone that hits, uh, anyone that hits an opponent, they get basically a stacking battery. 10% flat, does not change depending on how you level her skills. So she, like, in terms of like doing her job, you don't need to level any of her skills. For her job of just making units farm, she doesn't need to be leveled. If you want them to hit harder, you have the skills, don't need to. and like the manuscript does affect her own MP, so you using her as a support and using her as a DPS are very different play styles, but she can do both. She's able to target guts and then miss crane herself to the back of the turn on your turn. She does it on your turn. So two enemies, you have I believe two allies up on the field, and then she'll peace out at the end of your turn, if I'm remembering right. So if you have like full turn invulns, those will be good turns. The two units that are still up will get hit a little more. Glad I'm almost done. MP damage with the manuscript buffs, and she eats it off the entire party. Avenger passives. Uh, Anti-caster damage. This is Ilya, because Ilya didn't do her job and created a monster. MP, uh, super effective based on manuscripts. Reduces gauge, ups her own quick performance. It's a low buff, but at least she can do it. And her Bond CE gives her MP damage and also immediately starts the battle with everyone having the manuscript buff. So it does enable black rail farming for certain units that need that little extra 10%. Say Lartoria. She fundamentally changes the meta at a huge cost to party cost. That is her trade-off, that she ups her party cost like crazy. But I mean, what do you expect? You're adding another 4-star into an already the most cost intensive farming specifically for Buster. She deserves this placement though. 100%. Other extra class in this triangle is Summer Mellison. I'm gonna admit some of her stuff is situational, but the situational shit doesn't matter half the time. Her refund is stupid. Her damage is stupid. Oh my god, like she is tanky Summer Ibuki that can loop one enemy waves like a single target. Like, and she's a crit servant too, on top of that. Like face card games might not seem much, but when you have, trust me, when you're pretty much guaranteed to be critting, it doesn't matter. She's a ruler. I believe she's a ruler with the highest attack out of all of them. Positive modifier, decently tanky, along with being a ruler that's already tanky. Good hit counts. Fucking just like OG Mellison, her skills are cracked beyond all belief. They are loaded with different effects: card buff, crit damage, power mod, and damage cut, all in the same turn on the same skill with a 6-turn cooldown. I'm honestly surprised this isn't 7, but of course they're gonna make Mellison cracked. Star weight at a low number. It's not the normal Lancelot number, but if you're fighting on water side, this is a different skill. You get more stars per turn. The static 10, and again, water side, there is airspace. You get even more stars. If you bring her to water side, she's a very, very strong crit archer. I mean, crit ruler. But she wants to be on water side. That is 30 stars per turn as an art servant, as long as she's on water side or airspace. You can force water side, can't really force airspace, but airspace should just be like you can see yourself floating above the battlefield. It's not like that's what it should be. Like if you see the little platforms under your feet, that technical, I feel that should be water side. I mean, not water side, airspace. Like you're literally in the air, but who knows? Some of the translations just don't go over well. Oh yeah, I'm definitely not done talking about Melisandre. 80% battery and MP damage. It like on a 6 turn too. That's again a crazy thing. 6 turns. Why are her skills as low cooldown as they are? They all should be, except this one. All of them should be a higher, like a turn higher at least. All this good. You get this. You can start from 0 without any other supports, and you save battery time. You're probably still, like, you just have so many options. She ramps up attack and super effective and damage against Earth attribute, and ramps up crit damage as well. And more crit damage as a CE, and more crit damage if you're on water side or airspace. Like if you're on water side, or if you're not on water side, she's still EX. I wouldn't. She's not better than Ibuki, but she's still EX. If you're on water side, she passes Ibuki for just consistent crit damage. Like she might not be like wave clearing as easy as Ibuki. She might not be killing them with her MP as easy as Ibuki, but she has ways to loop as good, if not better, than Ibuki. Some refund problems that Ibuki might have just because of like base stats and everything, Melisandre probably wouldn't have, just because of how good her fucking refund is to begin with. And technically, if you want, you could use Summer Ibuki as a support for Melisandre and just use them together just for shits and giggles to use 2 EX arts loopers, and they like just see how much they actually rely on Summer Castory. Or not Summer Castory, just Castory in general. Like just see their own strength in comparison is just like, wow. Wow. Yeah. Two summers back to back of like broken 5-star AoE loopers. And with that, we are down to the last 4. Now, I'm doing this out of order, and we're going to start with Sith because every other unit on here is a foreigner, and foreigners is my deal. So I want to get the pretender out of the way. But first, we got this extra class. Oh, great. Summer extra class 1. Yeah. I might do a tier list adjustment later, but not right now. So I am putting her in yes, no. I'm putting her in extremely niche. Do I think she could probably be ranked up here and do really well? Yes. But the situations you would use her is stall and dot comps. And those aren't the most meta. I feel putting her in niche is going to be more representative of her. Base stats, good. Good up here too. Pretender, so good star gen. It counts. It's debatable how you feel about this. Like I'm fine with double buster, double arch. She doesn't need the quick card. Even though she's a pretender, she still has stupid star gen, even with the 1 card. You'll see how she works. This is the unit that you'd be running 2 of them together, or you'd be using like Merlin or something. Like anyone that can do like stars per turn, regen, battery per turn, you're gonna want to run them with her. She enables all of these servants to do their job even more. Like Merlin becomes absolutely cracked, busted, back to being in the meta for stall comps if you use him with her. First skill, party attack and defense up, extends all type of regeneration skills the HP, the MP gain, the stars, she ups their durations by 3 turns. So say one is like like Merlin's 5 turn MP is about to go away. You pop this, all those have another 3 turns added onto them. You just pop the MP, the next turn they're down to 4. You pop the skill, they're up to 7. All debuffs on the enemy increase by 3 turns as well. So you can start juggling just straight up more dots than you ever were before. And you can, and as you see, these aren't stacked. This doesn't say you can't stack these effects. These aren't a debuff. You just directly affect the number on the unit. And I don't think these can be resisted. I don't think someone can resist these effects because it's not a debuff. It's just amplifying what's on the unit. So yeah, this skill alone would put her in super niche. She can do farming too, by the way. As a pretender, if you have more copies, she is a possible black rail looper. It just like it's the setup is kind of gonna be wonky, but she's a pretender that can black rail loop as a buster unit. So good. And she has the Lady Avalon trait where you're fucking with her gauge even more. So she's hard to kill. She's like really hard to kill. Just, like she suppresses fire. Like this is a phenomenal unit. MP damage, crit stars, and she has a passive where as people get hit, you build up. They can build up crit damage. If everyone got hit, you're giving people a battery. This part they need to have it on. They don't need to have it every turn. They just need to have the Wrath of the Enshrined Deity buff up when you pop the skill. Like, look at a lot of passives. More times than not, you are gonna keep her in stage 3 for the most benefit because she just gets free crit damage against a man attribute and a 1% different for your allies and herself on MP Gen. I don't think 1% is going to be enough of a reason to use her like purposely in this ascension over the other. But again, if you're not fighting man attribute, like it kind of would make more sense to run this. It's just like the difference isn't enough to like really care about it. It's just something maybe you keep into consideration. Because of that 30%, you're going to want mana loading. NP, she does all the regen buffs, so do not pop skill 1 until after you've NP'd at least once. Otherwise, you get nothing out of it. High base curse damage. She doesn't have amps. That's for whoever you're running her with. If they need to bring amps, they need to bring amps. Reduces their attack by 50% for 1 turn. If you run 2 of these together, you're not fucking dying. Any damage they can slip through you is gonna get healed in like at the end of the turn. Like if you even have dots on you, you're gonna still be healing more than like the dots could possibly be doing. Because remember, you're upping how like the duration on this with reverse skill. If you run 2 of them, you should always have healing, charge per turn, and you should always have like 50 stars a turn. You are spamming MPs like crazy, and the enemy isn't going to be able to do anything to you. If you're fighting someone that has buff removal, yeah, you're shit out of luck, but like it's the same as like you don't bring the invincible comp to someone that has buff removal because that kills the comp. Buster performance 2. And yeah, if you have Wrath of Enshrined Deity, more Buster card performance. So if you're fighting AoE bosses, she's like uncontested for how like you shouldn't ever fucking die. I really want to put her in EX, but I think it's just too specific, and most people don't like to play this way. This is a very specific play style that is like super polarizing for people because it means like going really slow in the fight. So I really like it. I love dots, and this is just your literal like it is pure Sith. It is Sith at her finest. She is literally making people bleed out and draining the life force from them, and just laughing while she does it. It's I want to put her here, but she probably wouldn't go there just because of uh, how how slow the playstyle is. Like, definitely she'd go in high A at minimum, and I would gladly take anyone wanting to put her in EX. But putting her in EX is a hard sell when you see who is actually in here. So extremely niche can be anywhere, just depending on who you're running her with and if you actually know how to use her. She is not someone. She is not a servant I would recommend to any newcomer. You need pieces to make her work better. And with that, we got the last 4 units. All of them are foreigners. My favorite. We're gonna keep going in order. So it is Abigail, Nock, Voyager, Wangina. Abigail Summer. She was already an extremely niche. I put her here for a reason because I felt that if she got a skill buff where her battery was targeted, she could potentially be used instead of Oberon for units that had 50%. Like if you had Oberon, cool, you could always still use him, but her having a targetable battery uh made it so units that would get like already have a lot in their kit could use her and take advantage of the bus res down. Now Juna obviously couldn't use it because he is a 30 and he already has buster res down. But units that have like naturally high MP damage, you don't have Oberon, but you do have her, it would give her a good utility. Unfortunately, that is not the buff they gave her. They did reduce the cooldown on this skill, and they fixed her own damage, which I don't know if you guys saw how bad her damage was before, but it was bad. She was like her aerial drive damage, it was like this. It was like Cuckoo's super scope damage. It was really, really bad. So this buff fixed her personal damage. And right now she's I don't want to say she's okay as a farmer, but like she can do it. It's like it's okay damage. I'm never going to say this is like good damage. Not neutral. Not neutral for this setup. Like she's an AoE with splash damage, like or like kind of cleave in like Honkai, if you want to think of it like that. It's there, but I think her use as a support is just far better. Uh yeah, that's just me personally on this. But like being able to put like a debuff on your enemy is something that other buster supports don't do. So it does, and she does do it. She can put a lot of debuffs. If she is involved with MPing in your team, you are gonna have like a good amount of debuffs for your DPS to like nuke. Maybe not like, and it doesn't brick them too. That's the other thing. Like if you're not sure Oberon is gonna brick your unit, and you still need like the damage, like that version of Abigail would be better in Challenge Quest than Oberon because you would just have more stuff to work with than just raw damage. So that's why she's in extremely niche. Even with this buff, I think she's still gonna stay here. Next up, Nock. And it's been a while since we saw the review, and people are already saying that yeah, I trust them that she would be better in multi-core. Um, and her kit is kind of weird. But like you look at her kit and like, yeah, no, she shouldn't be. She shouldn't be like trying to art sleep every time. It just wouldn't make sense. Uh, 9.2k, decent at HP. Star Weight Surgeon or foreigner numbers. MP charge 0.41%, so it's very similar to Summer Melisande, but don't expect Summer Melisande numbers from her at all. Like you are gonna be in for a rude awakening. Triple arts, decent hit counts. First skill, debuff immunity one time 3 turns. Heal per turn, 20% battery each turn, and my fair soldier buff. Allies that have this get 30% battery. What is this skill? She puts it on with her second skill and they get skill sealed, but they get a 50% attack buff and 30% defense. Like for multi-core farming, that is definitely huge, especially if you do not need to pop any more skills on that unit. This is free damage for them. And then third skill, arts buff 20%. Kind of low, but oh well. Chance to stun enemies 60%, like Summer Anastasia. Wouldn't be surprised if that is a reason why they gave her the buff, but I'm not gonna say a 4 star is the reason any other servant gets buffed. And reduces all enemies' defenses. 500% chance to seal arts cards except from herself and Artoria Caster. That includes Berserker or the actual caster form. Now, why I say like this works in multi-core is that if you're not running with another arts DPS, this doesn't fucking matter. You skill sealed them and you gave them a 50% attack buff on top of the defense down and the stun. Like you save this for when you need to do big damage, not necessarily for the farming, which is also why it's probably noted on here that shouldn't be bringing her for uh to be the one doing farming. She's not supposed to be the farmer. She's supposed to be a support. She's welfare, so you can get all these coins. Her passives are very decent. Party Sergeant up 20% while she's on the field. Like, it's not a big number, but it is something. And she gets a mix of Avenger passive and Foreigner passive. Cool. Good for multi-core. MP, defense down for all enemies. Reduces, cleanses debuffs, and chunky heals. Chunky heals. Any kind of overcharge, which would come from skill popping, you're gonna hit hard. Or you're gonna heal hard. Sorry, not hit hard. And allies with My Fair Soldier, MP Gen up 20%, except herself, and that is specifically to stop you popping this. You bring 2 of them and then popping it on each other. You can't. She's not gonna get the benefit, but she does get 15% for herself anyway. I also want to put her here. Yeah, I'm putting her here because it is very, again, it's specific at the times, the type of teams you'd be using it. Like it even names Summer Castoria and regular Castoria. Like, sorry, I need to stretch because I've been sitting so long on this. Like you like her ideal core team probably would be for an event would be like her Summer Castoria and then regular Castoria and then like obviously a plug suit. Bring someone else in depending on whether you need crit or more refund or something. I don't really know. There are a bunch of use cases I can think of, but it again user preference. 2 more. Voyager's MP buff. He needed this. He needed this. His big thing was damage. Got this buff with up, which allowed him to be a support or just increase his own farming damage and refund. This buff was great for him. Now he got the MP buff. He charges more living human allies. up from like by 10%, and that was about it. It's damage and makes multi-core better. Okay. So, does he need to go up? Um, I would say yes. I would say yes. His his damage isn't far off Dante's. Number one, like it is 20% lower, but I mean he's Dante's with niche, and if you're fighting like if you know you're fighting a sky attribute, Voyager is just gonna straight out damage, and if you're doing multi-core, he's gonna be better for the farm than Dante's. Do I think he needs to go up a tier? Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. He's definitely going up. He's not going here. Getting in here is just so fucking hard. It's gonna be hard for any of these specific extra class to break into here because Lady Avalon like being in here is always debatable, but I still think she kind of deserves to be up here because of what she brings to the table. Like she's invincible comp for art teams, and it's easier to have keep that up on art teams than other shit. Yeah, if you can't tell, I'm getting drained. I haven't done tier lists like this in not hours, months. So I'm feeling the drain. I'm gonna once this is over, I'm relaxing. We chilling the rest of the day. One Gina. I already said it's hard for someone to get in here, and despite MH double X being in here, like an EX, I'm not putting one Gina in there. MH double X is in there because her damage can be fucking ridiculous, and she's arts. Yeah, she has one turn, but some of the like you wouldn't even be popping those except to like nuke. You'd probably be bringing Oberon in as well to help with the nuke. Wangina is not a nuke. She is sustained, uh, and just multi-core. She can do. She's you bring her for harder stuff as like a neutral, where for MH double X you would bring her for like absolute boss nuking. And while she should be here because of that reason, the damage is so fucking stupid that she kind of stays up here. But Wangina has every single type of attack buff you can think of. Uh, Ramp up super effective. Uh, Quick and Buster up to work with Ruler Scotty. Yeah, it's better if I just like bring this up, obviously. So hit count's good. Base attack is high. Uh, Gen again, good base stats. I'm not complaining about anything up here. Builds up super effective damage from pace cards. If she's solo, it's pretty much guaranteed you're gonna have like full stacks. So plus 100% MP damage or super effective damage on the MP. These are low, but it's asking a lot to put 30% when you're also building a super effective mod. And dodge, party charisma, party crit damage, and if you're running her with mana attribute allies, she also gets a stack. This is why I'm not putting her in EX because there are no mainline quick supports that are mana attribute. It's Scotty. She is not mana attribute. I'm sure. Like I actually forget if Concert Wu or not Concert Wu. Wu Zetian is man attribute. She might be, and that's a support. She is okay. So there's a quick support. Wu. Um, I think Shufu. So you have options. They're just not the go to quick supports, and that's the real issue. Like Tai Gong isn't on here either. It's just it's like and also Van Gogh is definitely not man attribute either. So it's like they are setting up for her to have a really good support come out in the future that like will help make this shine, and they're being careful about it. That this other support is gonna specifically work well with her, but it's still gonna be a good quick support. I don't know. Maybe they just want to like because man attribute does have a lot of general supports like waiver, reigns. Like I'm not saying there aren't supports here. It's just they're not the go-to. They're not your main supports. They're the secondary. They're tertiary supports. The supports that you bring in to help your other one to shine. And then 20% battery, 30% battery. Sorry, the 20 is on mine because she's stuck at level 1. 10% gauge per turn. This is static and it is amazing for multi-core. I love this for multi-core so much. It's mini Merlin effect, and it's just great on a DPS to have this. HP per turn too. Yeah. Stars per turn works with and go if you have this passive. 20%, 21% debuff resistance. 20% on airspace. You're not on airspace that often, but when you are, you get free damage. Sick. Gotta want to go this for to get the 50. More options. Increased damage against assassins. I don't know this one off the top of my head. I'll be real. I don't know why she has this, but I didn't read through the event, so I wouldn't. Uh Probably just for I'm not usually doing stuff like this in the review or tier list, but bonus. There's no assassin on here. Why the fuck did what? Why does she have anti-assassin? Is it Osaka? Is it because of Osaka Behime? Oh my god, what did you do to her? What fucking how did the fuck did you draw a dojin of her that quickly? Fucking neat. Fucking degen neat. Chat, I'm just joking, but it actually would be fucking hilarious if that is the reason. That because like again, I haven't read the event, but imagine Osaka Behime just like already was writing a dojin on her based off summer, and she just like flipped the fuck out like completely and like just like I don't know the exact clip, but it's just like full red face and like just so embarrassed, like Bunyan. She just starts going full Bunyan and just trying to destroy everything to destroy the evidence. That's if this is because of Osaka. If not, whatever. MP ignores invincibility. Power mod against threat to humanity that carries on to her cards. Super effective, and then MP damage. And then yeah, so it's more multi-core. It wouldn't be supports, it'd be more multi-core. That man attribute is there for. But again, like sometimes you don't need multi-core, sometimes you just want single target. That's where this would come in more. But she has options. She has a wide reaching niche. And she is the only single target quick foreigner that is in the game. I think she's fine at A, and I'm gonna lock this. So that is this tier list update. Uh I'm not gonna do like another 3 months of this. This is exhausting, and this takes up a lot of time in the day. Um to set aside on stream to do this recording. I would never do this off stream. I think I did that once for the buff tier list, and I'm not doing it again because this is just too time consuming. I could be streaming while I do this. Um, these updates are always going to be recorded on Twitch, not YouTube. And yeah. If you want to see all the tier lists and make your own, go to tier list maker and probably just look me up or something. I don't know. I hope the site really works. But fool around with it, make your own tier lists. I don't really care. This is my opinion and how I play the game, what I value. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace. Freedom.